features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
What a beautiful morning out in the bush. Welcome everyone. This is Safari Live. Ready. Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Once again, good morning everyone. My name is FW and on camera with me this morning I've got Rian. So as we're looking at the sunrise this morning, there was a giraffe just walking in the distance in front of us. It's not far from us. We're going to go have a quick look and then get back to the sunrise and see if we can get a nice shot of that again. So our plan for this morning, we're going to do the northern boundary and see So our plan for this morning is to check the northern boundaries for the Nkahuma Pride if they came back into our area. And Steve in Texas, I'm glad we can share this lovely sunrise with you this morning. There's the giraffe just ahead of us. It's gonna come into shot shortly. There we go. Good morning. It's a young male. I nearly got confused there. Don't run away, don't run away. There we go. Hello young man. I wonder where the rest of your party is. With giraffe, seeing male or female, the youngsters can be quite confusing because you look at the horns and they're still too small to really tell you, or they're not bold enough yet, so you have to look at the obvious parts under the belly and look for the real proof, I suppose. Folks, if you have any questions this morning, please send them through to #SafariLive on Twitter. Such a graceful animal. Let's go forward a tiny bit. And then we're going to carry on and try and find a nice view on top of this crest to have a look at the sunrise. Something's got the giraffe's attention. You see how the ears are fanned out, and he had a good look. There's a grey duiker walking behind it, maybe 50 or so meters behind it, just walking from our right to left, and it's disappeared off into the bush. But I just had a quick look at it, make sure it's not a predator, and then it carries on. Alrighty, should we move over to this crest and see if we can get a nice shot of the sunrise? Marsha, I'm very happy to hear you excited about seeing this giraffe. Well, maybe let's spend some more time with it then and wait for the sun to come over the crest. It's nothing major. So there you can see the proof that it's a young male. could just see his man parts under his belly. I wonder what this morning is going to bring us. Blank canvas on the 3rd of January of 2017. To me personally, this is a great way to start my year out on safari with all of you and with Safari Live. Some oxpeckers sitting on it. Morning, Jennifer. I do agree with your question that the giraffe might be in a bit more danger not being fully grown and on his own. Normally you'd find these guys in a group, so it could be that he is really on his own, or there are others in the surrounding area that we're just not seeing. The area we're in is quite thick, so there's quite a lot of thick bush around us, so they might just be out of our view and he'll be perfectly fine. Maybe he's a straggler and did his own thing for a bit and now trying to catch up to them again. So I don't know, but he has disappeared. No, wait, no, there he is. Denise, you'd like to know what the average size for a herd of giraffe is. It varies quite a bit. Males can be on their own, females and young, maybe small groups, 3 or 4 animals together, maybe 2 or 3 different females and their babies. And then I've seen groups of maybe up to 20 young males like this together. So it's quite tough to really say. They don't have a set structure of how many there will be. Not like a herd of Impala that's more or less set at 20, 30 animals and maybe a little bit more. So yeah, always changing. When these guys get older and they get ready for mating, they'll start moving apart and leave their group and do their own thing. Thing is with that, when they come of age, you can say, the competition for dominance and mating right becomes so much that they don't really want any unnecessary competition. So the bigger the group, the less chance they might have to show themselves as the dominant male, and then have to fight more. So yeah, males in general do their own thing, and it's like that with most species. If you think about it, elephant bulls moving around on their own, buffalo bulls moving around on their own, or in small bachelor herds. It looks like the sun is just starting to creep over the horizon. Let's move forward a bit more. Spiderweb. So giraffe and their vision. William would like to know what their vision is like. William, I think it's relatively good. I think it's one of their, I wouldn't say better senses, but it's definitely up top there. And they'll use scent or smell, hearing, and sight as a defense mechanism. But yeah, I would say it's relatively good. You must remember one thing with all your herbivores: they don't have binocular vision, so they might not be able to focus on something in front of them, but they've got a very wide angle of view. So with where their head is, or the eyes are situated, they look kind of almost in a 180-degree angle on the side of their head. So not as good as our eyesight in focusing on smaller things, or the same with predators. They can't lock onto something, I think, but they definitely have the ability to pick up a lot of movement and things around them. And I think we've found our perfect sunrise spot. Look at that, just starting to come on. Let's give it a minute or two. There's a hyena calling in the distance to our left. Far off. How amazing is that? Red-crested koran also calling from our left. Yeah. It's gonna hit those treetops. There we go. It's crazy how quickly this thing comes up and goes down again. Yeah, I'm really hoping that these Nkahumas excuse me, will show themselves this morning. It was very nice yesterday afternoon with the tsalalas and the hunting of the buffalo. It was nice interaction. Hopefully we'll get some action from the Nkahumas this morning as well. I haven't seen any tracks. I've started from Sydney's Dam, heading all the way east on the northern boundary, and then we'll start exploring a bit more, see what's happening at Buffelshoek Dam, maybe head over to Cheetah Cutline, and who knows, maybe we'll end up in Chitwa or in Cheetah Plains this morning. We'll leave all those decisions for the bush for the moment. Won't think about it too much, just enjoy this lovely sunrise. Folks, while we keep moving around, seeing what this morning is going to bring, I'm going to head over to James. He also wants to say hello.
Hi. Good morning, everybody. My name is James Hendry, as Evia may have said, and Brian Chuper on camera with me today. Hello, Brian.
Hello, James.
Lovely to have you back on the vehicle with me. Yes, it feels like we haven't driven since 1984 together, everyone. Anyway, here we are on the third day of 2017 with some Impala to show you. Now, we are very live, of course. Hashtag Safari Live is how you get hold of us on Twitter. I must just tell you that yesterday during the TV show, some fellow sent us a naked picture of himself with the hashtag Safari Live. In case you were wondering, this is inappropriate behavior. We do not want this. We do not want naked pictures of people on hashtag Safari Live. It is disturbing, to say the least. Not only for those who have to see it, but also it makes us concerned for our own species. So if you could avoid doing that, that would be wonderful. Thank you so much. Now we're looking at a wonderful bachelor herd of Impala, and I will tell you while we're watching them that the Salala Pride, who we watched in an attempt to kill a buffalo last night, seems to have, they crossed out of the reserve and they crossed back in again. Tracks heading towards this area. Where we are is the junction of Philemon's Cutline and Rebecca's Road, and that's basically the southwestern corner of Djuma. So we'll drive around here and see if those tracks don't cross perhaps a little bit further north. These Impala look like they're actually having rather a pleasant morning. A little bit of tomfoolery in front of us there. Do you see the tomfoolery there, Brian?
I do.
Those two were tomfoolering around, just having a little bit of a box with each other. And I must say, it's a very pleasant morning. The lack of cloud indicates to me that the pleasantness of the day is probably going to turn rather hot, I think. Perhaps Louise would be good enough to tell us what the expected maximum temperature is today. Probably about 700, I think. Ah, 35, 95. 35 degrees Celsius, 95 Fahrenheit. So pretty cookish, really. But lovely right now. And that's, of course, why we come out at this time of the morning. It is a glorious time of the morning. And, you know, I find it very difficult these days. I've got so used to getting up before the dawn. I always find if I get up and the sun is up, that I feel like I've kind of missed out on half the day. Very nice. Not a huge amount of bird song close by, lots of it all over the place. Hello, Lance. This is a question I used to ask myself. You say, since we drive on the wrong side of the road compared to the United States, well, indeed, compared with everywhere that wasn't a British colony, you want to know if the gas pedal is on the left and right-hand side. Lance, the pedals are exactly the same way as they are on your left-hand drive cars. So the pedals are the same. So were you to come here and have to drive one of the cars, your feet would have to do precisely what they have to do where you are. The difference is the gear stick, of course, is on my left, and therefore it would be on the wrong side for you. And I remember when I drive left-hand drive cars, I often find myself reaching out of the window to change gears. And so that's the thing you've got to get used to. But the pedals are exactly the same. This is a very pretty picture, Brian. Let's continue along that way on account of the fact that we think the lions might be that sort of direction. And I'm in two minds whether we should go and try and find those lions or see if we can't find the leopard cubs again, because we had such fun with them yesterday. We might do a bit of both. Excuse me. And Natasha, you're wondering if I have any idea whether the buffalo, at least the lions, managed to catch a buffalo yesterday. I don't know. I don't think so. Certainly not within the game drive time. They could have caught one during the course of the night. But the buffalo tracks went a long way off to the east. They sort of did a circle and went east. And the lion tracks then went west and came up through this area. But that all could have happened, you know, sort of within 5 minutes of the end of drive, or 10 minutes. So I really don't know. And because we come out a lot earlier than everyone else, it's difficult to say. Oh, there's more tomfoolery going on here. These Impala rams seem to be upset with each other, Brian. One of them stole another's girlfriend, I think. Except there are no girls around at the moment. Maybe it's a family feud. Come on then. There we go. Now these fights are not serious. But they will become serious, of course, round about March as we go into the rutting season. But this is all pretty calm. They're just yawning there. I always find it amusing to watch animals yawn, especially birds. I don't know why that is the case. What is that through there? It is a stump. Alright, we're going to continue along here. We need to just keep going because if those lions are doing anything, Well, it'll be round about now that they're doing it. As the sun has peeped up, and shortly it will become too hot for them. Ooh. The two of you are behaving very badly. They seem to be a bit excited by us driving past them. Anyway, on we go. Now the lion tracks were heading in this direction, so we're going to continue looking for them, and in the meantime I think FW is probably now heading south towards Cheetah Plains or Chitwa, I'm not sure.
It's good to hear. James has also got lion tracks. We found some lion tracks on the boundary road coming in a westerly direction as well. It looked like one male only, so I just want to check towards Djuma to Vulture Dam if the lion didn't go for a drink. See if he maybe decided to come into the area. Maybe you can give me a hand and check on the dam cam if anything's around the dam. I'm trying to pick up some tracks, but nothing yet. I haven't seen anything. Maybe he'll surprise us. What? No tracks as of yet. I wonder if it would have gone to Galago Pan or to Vulture Dam. Let's go check Vulture Dam first, and then we'll work it from there. If we don't have any luck, we'll come back to the cut line, keep working our way to the east and see if anything else has crossed over. Maybe they decided to go back to the north. We'll have to go and double check if we don't pick up on anything. That's very interesting. Helen, you say you could hear him roaring last night on the dam cam. Around what time would that have been? When would that have happened, I wonder? Under pressure this morning from Mel. She says I've got 40 minutes to find her some lions before she has to go to bed. Well, Mel, I'll try my utmost best to get you some lions before you have to go for your snooze. Just hold on there. Some bumps. Thank you very much, Red. So, you say it was about an hour ago that you would guess this lion was somewhere close to Vulture Pan and the dam cam. Over an hour ago. Ooh. So this guy could have walked quite far in that time, and depending on how far he was from you when it was calling, I'll have to try and pick up on some tracks again. See, when these guys are on patrol of their territory, they can move miles and miles and miles in a night. So, with the Tsalala pride in the in the area as well, I don't know if the Tsalalas form part of the territory of the Birmingham males, and if they picked up on their presence, they might have decided to follow them or try and push them out of their area again. So, yeah, could have had some serious distance covered by these guys last night. I think what we'll do, we'll just check around the dam quickly and then head back to the cut line and try and pick up on some more tracks. I haven't seen anything in this area. So, let's keep trying to figure out what has happened last night. But in the meantime, let's go see if James is having any luck with his lion tracks.
We found the tracks coming out on Philemon's cut line there. And then they went back into the block here. And I think they were giving the buffalo the run around. Whether they've killed one or not, I don't know. But there's a red-backed shrike. Gorgeous shot of a red-backed shrike. Now the red-backed shrike is a very pretty bird, but Brian, it doesn't really have the voice to match, does it?
No.
Not a very pretty voice. Poor red-backed shrike. It doesn't, it just feels like that's more of an alarm call than a real call, but I'm afraid that's just its normal territorial call. Anyway. That's how it goes. Some people have nice voices, Brian, and some do not.
Yeah.
We continue. So the tracks came down through here. But they didn't look to me like they were very fresh. They looked to me like they were probably from sort of last night around, I don't know, let's say 10 o'clock. And I can say that with confidence because there's nobody here to tell me otherwise. So probably about 10:05, Brian. Don't you think? Yeah, roughly. Roughly 5 or 7 minutes past 10 last night. So where they've gone from there, I couldn't tell you. Treehouse Dam is just off to the left-hand side there, not too far from where we are now. And they might still be moving down towards there, so we'll probably do a little loop around. And see if they haven't gone down. Brian. There's a Steenbok. Do you see it? It's the best Steenbok view we'll ever get. Isn't that amazing? There it is. Oh. Oh, wee. Good morning, Steenbok. Have you seen any lions? Brian, it looks to me like that Steenbok is looking at us with disdain on its face. We'll show it, though, won't we? You look at us like that for too much longer, chum, and you're going to be in some discomfort. Yes, that's what we want. A bit of acknowledgement and reaction. Thank you. Off you go, then. Yes, go and stand in the sun so you look pretty. Yeah, you see. We intimidated him, Brian. Steenbok, everybody. In the golden dawn light of Africa. Now this is the direction that I thought maybe we'd be lucky enough to see the tracks in. Hello Norman, you're wondering if the speedometer there is broken or disconnected. Norman, let us do an experiment. There you can see we are currently doing minus 10 kilometers an hour. Are you holding on tight, Brian? Norman, you can see that we're still, no, we're actually doing 0 kilometers an hour. So far from it being disconnected, it is simply not working. And we're slowing down back to minus 20. So this is one of the features of the Land Rover, you see, Norman, is that the gauges, they work for about 10 minutes after you buy the car, whereupon they cease to function. My particular favorite is this vent thing here. This is the fan. The fan was designed in the same sort of tradition, I suppose, with the sophistication that the cavemen used to design their machines with. That also works for 10 minutes after you buy the car. Likewise, the two knobs over here. And that seems to be a feature of the Defender 110 and the Defender 90, and probably why they've been discontinued as a line of vehicle. Erica, you're wondering if we've ever had an accident on the road, like a flat tire. Erica, yes, many flat tires. I have changed countless Land Rover tires in my time out here in the wilderness. And, well, that's not too unusual. We drive off-road quite a lot, and so there are stumps and sticks and thorns that'll stick into the tires. In terms of being turned over, thankfully, no, I've never been turned over. It does happen from time to time, but that doesn't, it's not common that would happen. And often, when it does happen, it's human error, much more than it is any kind of danger. We drive very slowly. So, I mean, when you turn a car over like this, you really got to be driving like a bit of a monkey. Yeah, I don't know where these tracks come out. We're going to have one more look at Treehouse Dam and then just have a check around where those leopards were yesterday. Go ahead. I'm just talking on the radio. I've been hailed on the radio. So Karula was on Weaver's Nest Road last night. So that's just to the east of here. And Tingana was at Twin Dams. Huh, that's very interesting. Copy, thanks very much. So maybe we'll be lucky with the leopards. I haven't been very lucky with the lions as yet. I don't think they're far from here. So we'll just pop round the corner here to the dam again and do a figure 8 past where the leopards were yesterday. I hope she hasn't taken them south again. It's very unkind of her to do that. She does it rather distressingly often. Now let's just keep an eye out underneath all the trees here. Melanie, you're wondering more about geography than biology at the moment. You say, how close are the Sabi sands to the glaciere? And would any of the animals from here go to the glaciere? Right, so for those, let me just give a bit of background. There's a large vulture. For those of you wondering what Melanie's on about, I'll just give you a little bit of an indication. The Sabi Sand is part of a collection of private reserves, and those private reserves are on the eastern fringes of the western fringes of the Kruger National Park. There are a few of them like that, and one of them is the Klaseri. And Melanie, yes, it is possible. It's possible for animals to move between here and the Klaseri. I'm sure some of the elephants do, buffalo sometimes, wild dogs almost certainly. But the territorial animals like the buffalo, not the buffalo, like the lions and the leopards, no, they wouldn't. Because they're territorial and it's too far away. There'd be other lions and leopards in that area. He's quite an ominous looking fellow, white-backed vulture. And it's always good in the morning just to sit and have a little bit of a listen. And I can hear very pleasant, peaceful sounds. I can't hear distress in any way. This chap was sitting here last night watching the drama unfold. This is exactly where the lions were stampeding the buffalo. And in the background you can hear the crested francolin, not crested francolin, barbet. And also can hear some squirrels alarm calling. Natasha, you're wondering if a musical ear helps me to understand the language of birds and animals. I think that was your question. No, I don't think it does, you know. Do you, Brian?
Maybe.
You've got a musical ear. I think it probably helps me to hear slight differences where other people can't hear them, but I don't think that necessarily helps me to understand anymore.
You might be able to pick up on a few more calls as well.
Yes, different calls and different tones, certainly. But in understanding them, no, I don't think so, I'm afraid. There is some irritated squirrel noises coming from just inside here. You can't see anything through there, can you, Brian? Alright, in the meantime, Evia has been off the car. I think he's been on the trail of some male lions. Let's go and find out if he found them.
So we're still trying to figure out where this male lion had gone. From where we saw the tracks first. I'm just trying to double check if it's come south or if it's gone north. Haven't picked up any tracks yet. Again, so just double checking this area, make 100% sure where this thing had gone. Otherwise we might carry on for the moment to see. Okay, so we've got tracks right next to us here, and then they disappear. Just want to have a quick chat to the guys on the radio. They've picked up this guy's tracks far east and they're coming this way. Legs for every legs. And then I'm going to show you these tracks. Morning, I've got tracks for this Madorangala of yours. It's close to Mvubu Road, just east of Mvubu Road on Buffelshoek Katlan still, coming west. I'm going to join you in the area. So, can we look at this one here? So, here's my hand. It is just smaller than my hand. It's fanned out like this. So a big male lion was walking in this direction. You can see the back of his foot here. Then 1, 2, 3, 4 toes. But now what I don't understand is where he's gone from here, because I can see a couple of tracks and then just gone. So the soil is quite tough here. It's hard soil, hard substrate, which makes it quite tough to try and find or spot tracks. Here's another one. You can just see his toes, just the toes sticking out. Another one, and then I am lost. So it looks like he was in quite a hurry. His toes are pressed down quite hard, and from here on I don't see a thing. And what is making our lives more difficult, there's hyenas that had walked in this area as well. So you might just see a toe on these hard substrates and you have to double check it the entire time. I think we have to turn around again and work our way. So Caroline, who is only 14 years old, wants to know if you can tell the size and age of a lion by looking at his tracks. Well, Caroline, you can always tell the size more than the age of an animal by its tracks. So a younger animal would have a smaller track, and as they grow old and into adulthood, the track will get bigger, and once it's fully grown, it's not going to grow anymore. So then it's quite tough to say how old the animal is, but you can definitely tell if it's an adult, a youngster, or a sub-adult, and work it from there. I'm just going to have a very close look here if this guy has gone north or south before we do anything else. My gut is telling me it's gone south, but where to the south it had gone, I don't know yet. So it's just to figure this out. It's amazing how these things can make you scratch your head in the morning. Maybe what we should do, let's go further west again. Check if there's an area where the soil gets a bit better, and then work it from there again. By the way this guy was moving, and from the distance I can gather from the other guys chatting to us on the radio, he might have just stuck on this road and kept patrolling. So nope. Let's see. Some better substrate here. Try and figure things out. I'm not seeing anything here. So let me keep walking around this area, see if I can pick up some more tracks. But in the meantime, let's go see what James is up to.
I've just heard a golden-tailed woodpecker. We have found no lions or leopards at this stage, but never mind. We're going to go up onto the treehouse dam wall, and then we'll have a sit and a listen and a look. Alrighty. There's still some very irritated squirrels lurking around here. They may have seen a Wahlberg's eagle or something. There's the golden-tailed woodpecker. I'm just going to train my binoculars into the middle of this area here. We saw Hosanna on our way home. He'd come out onto the dam wall last night. He, of course, an 11-month-old leopard cub. I suppose almost sub-adult now. But still cub. They grow up so fast, Brian.
They do.
But otherwise, not much going on here. We saw 2 duiker when we came past here earlier today, during the pre-show. But I do not see anything furry. Brian thought that he'd spotted perhaps the belly of a lion. We went back and checked, and I'm afraid it was a trick of the light, wasn't it, Brian?
I think so, I'm not too sure.
Right, let us continue. Woodland kingfishers chirruping away. It's another beautiful morning. Now, the woodland kingfishers must be just about nesting by now. Now, Ruth, you ask a very good question about Hosanna, because, of course, we know that he will go independent sometime between now and this time next year. And you say, will we follow his life, even once he's left his mum? And the answer is, yes, we will, Ruth, as far as we can. But we don't know where he'll go. There's a little squirrel. Come on, squirrel. Hopefully it's going to pop up in that knot. Come on, squirrel. There, you saw the tail. There he is, on top. Still going. He's now right above us. You see him there, Brian? Oh, well spotted. Ruth, if he leaves here, which he will inevitably, we will lose contact with him. And, I mean, his brother's quarantine is around, I mean, he's around Cheetah Plains. Shivambalani is around Cheetah Plains, Mala Mala. Kunyuma's somewhere down on the Sand River around Londolozi. So, it's difficult. It really depends on where he goes. So if he goes somewhere near another tourism lodge where they see leopards all the time and identify them in the same way that we do, well then yes, we will be able to follow his progress. But even then we'll probably lose touch with him, unfortunately. And so I'm going to say it's unlikely that we'll be able to follow him anything like as closely as we do now. Unless he sets up a territory here, and that really won't be very good for anyone. Is that thing found a marula fruit to eat, do you think? I don't know. He's quite a confiding little squirrel. There he goes. And while we're on the subject of Hosanna and his independence, Marianne, you're wondering how a leopardess eventually gets, this is wonderful, gets her cubs to leave. Does she actually tell them to go, or do they just do it by instinct? Marianne, I think it's largely instinct, you know. They like to be alone, they don't like to be with other leopards, and the older they get, the less time they like to spend with each other. And so I think you'll find that it is probably largely an instinctual sort of behavior. Isn't that just wonderful? Look at that gorgeous squirrel. Aren't they sweet? You can see why they have been so, I suppose, heavily captured in children's books. There's something very kind of kind about them, I guess they look. One thinks of a squirrel nutkin, Brian. and probably going to pop down onto the ground and disappear off to the next marula tree. There'll be a hole here that he probably lives in. Okay, let's carry on. Goodbye, squirrel. May your life be filled with joy and a distinct absence of Wahlberg's eagles. This is where Hosanna and Shongalai were yesterday. And Maria, you're wondering about whether, this is a very good question again, we're having lots of good chat about this, whether when Hosanna leaves this area, he will still be known by the same name of Hosanna, which means the little chief. Yes, I think it's most likely that he will, because he will be around the Sabi Sand, but you know, if he goes to another area where they don't know him by that name, or perhaps they don't use names for leopards, you know, he might well become known as I think he's the 3-3, isn't he? He might well become known as the 3-3 male leopard, or the 3-3 Sabi River leopard, or something like that. But if he stays around here, which we hope he won't, well, yes, then he will be known as Hosanna forever. Sandila is still referred to as Sandila. Sandila, of course, is his cousin, Hosanna's cousin. Quarantine, still known as Quarantine. But Kunuma, I haven't heard referred to as Kunuma for some time. Now do shout if you see a leopard, will you, Brian? Well, just sort of indicate gently. I wouldn't shout. I mean, that can, of course, distress animals. Yeah, I can't find any sign here. You know, sometimes you leave camp in the morning feeling so good about things that there's definitely going to be some form of action, and then nothing. Well, we've had Impala and squirrels, Brian. In fact, I think that's the sum total of our mammal count today. Some Impala and some squirrels. And while we are failing to find any mammals, let's continue talking about leopard dispersal. And Michael, you're wondering about Sandila and if we have seen him lately, if there have been any sightings. No, not that I know of. And you know, there isn't a huge amount of communication between northern and southern Sabi Sands all the time. So I mean, they'll see male leopards from time to time, but they won't necessarily ask or tell us about them. You know, down towards, I don't know, Sabi or perhaps Lion Sands, somewhere on there. So, no, we don't know where he is. We don't know what he's doing. His collar is no longer on him, which is great. Here are the leopards going along the road. That's excellent news. Please, leopards, do not be far along the road. I will show you a track, everybody. Red-backed shrike. These are not very fresh. This is too close, isn't it? Can you see it? Oh. There's this is interesting. Hang on a sec. That looks like a male to me. That is not Karula. It could be young Hosanna, but that looks a bit big for him, but not quite big enough to be... I wouldn't say that's big enough to be Tingana. Let me just look up ahead here. Now, these are not the freshest tracks I've ever seen. There are millipedes and things on them. Anyway, let's drive down here. I wonder if this isn't the young male. He of whom we were speaking recently. His feet should be almost as... I suppose they must be bigger than Karula's by now. He's got very big feet. You know what they say about big feet, Brian?
Large socks.
Shoes, big shoes.
Long shoelaces.
Long shoelaces, yeah. Let's just look around in the corner here. Alright, while we follow these up, let's find out how Effie is doing on his tracking expedition.
This male lion is making our lives difficult this morning. I've been back to the tracks where I first saw them. There's some more tracks in that area of another lion going north. It looks like a female, but now I'm not sure. Is it yesterday's track? It looks a little bit older than the other one. There's still one or two more places that I want to check on our side of the cut line, and then decide what we're going to do. If we're going to carry on, see if we find something else. But I just want to quickly go check another watering hole around Galago, and then we'll work it from there. So let's keep our fingers crossed that he's decided to come for a drink at one of those watering holes. If we don't pick up on anything, we'll carry on for now. We'll give this win to the lion, and then maybe you'll find some other tracks or find some other stuff along the way as well. These big cats and tracking them, it's not always as easy as we think it is. They've got a way of walking very lightly, and if soil has a little bit, or if it's a little bit hard, or there's not a lot of sand, it does get quite difficult, because you then basically just see a scrape mark, or not even anything. So fingers crossed we'll pick up some. So let's go and find out what's happening here. Just having a look at the map of where we're going. We're on Galago shortcut at the moment. I'll quickly shoot past Galago Pan. What always intrigues me is we might be so busy looking at the tracks and trying to find this thing, and it might be sitting somewhere off in the bush having a look at us and like, you silly people, you're trying to find me and I'm I'm smarter than you. Stop looking at the tracks and start looking around. You might see something. CX, good morning. You would like to know if we use local trackers. Yes, we do. There are there are a few different vehicles out on safari, and some of them have trackers on them, and they're also looking for the same things we are looking for. One thing I enjoy quite a bit is tracking myself. So it's building your skills as a tracker, and it is a great way to spend time with those guys and learn from them. I've learned huge amounts from trackers that I've worked with in the past. Folks, let's go and figure out this story. I'm going to quickly shoot past those different watering holes, but in the meantime, Taylor's also out and about on bushwalk. She wants to say hello.
Hello everybody, it's a wonderful morning to actually be out here on foot today. Now my name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me this morning is David, and of course Rexon is just ahead of us scouting about, making sure we are safe and sound. Now, I have something to show you first thing. I thought we would start this day off with a bang. Have a look what's in my hand. Can you see that? Now, my question to you, what is this? What tree does this bark come from? You can see this is the older piece of bark. It's actually scarred and almost peeled off. And this is the newer stuff. And there's only one tree out here that is this color. So it should be a fairly easy one for you to guess. So we'll have to put it, I'll put it in my pocket and I'll let you think about that. Now, if you want to send your answers through, you can either hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or you can send them through to questions@WildEarthTV. Now I need to try and put them in my pocket. And they go, stay safe and sound. And hopefully I'll remember about them a little bit later. Now, it's really warm today. I think somewhere, I think Lou, you said 79? Was it already that? It could be about 79 already. Maybe it's not that quite hot, but it's somewhere around there. Oh, 70. I got a little bit excited there, but it's really nice and warm. It's beautiful. The dew on the grass is all drying up. You can see it's a little bit wet, which is hence why for the moment we're not quite walking on that grass, because David said to me he doesn't want to get his shoes wet this morning. Can you believe that? No, that's not the reason. We're going to be jumping onto a road soon, but I'd like to go and take a closer look at some of the pools of water that we have seen developed after the big rains. And yesterday we had a very quick look at some tadpoles, but I think that today we've got the camera off a vehicle, we're on foot, we might be able to get a better and a closer look at a couple of those tadpoles that are moving around the water, maybe even see what they're feeding on. And what I will try and do is I'll take a couple of photos as well, or maybe you can send some screenshots when we eventually get to Chele Pan, which surprisingly is a frog. And hopefully, well, we'll be able to find out exactly which species of tadpoles we've got lurking around in that pool of water, because I suspect it's the African bullfrogs, possibly the foam nest frogs, and I'm sure maybe some bubbling cassinas, maybe even a reed frog or so. And well, we can try and identify those. Ruth, you're guessing, was it brown? That's not the one, but keep on guessing, keep on trying. I give you a clue because, oh, I'm scared to give you this clue. So what happens is it may come off on my hand actually. There was a bit of a fine yellow powder on that bark. If you don't get that now, then I don't know. I don't know what to do, because that'll give it away. There's only one tree in the whole of the Lowveld that gets fine yellow powder on its bark. Ooh. Oh, well done, E-Scar. You've guessed correct. So you said, I need to take it out of my pocket again. You've guessed fever tree. Well done to you. You are indeed correct. Now, I haven't seen too many fever trees growing out and about. However, we do have one in the DRC, and they actually growing at Gowrie Gate too. There's a big one there. So this, like I said, this is the outside. There's a bit of the powder on the inside of the tree, and of course this is the new bark. So this bit we can get rid of. Goodbye. And this is what we want to look at. Now, the fever tree is an interesting tree. It's a very good tree to have around, especially in very poor, disturbed areas, because it's got nitrogen fixing bacteria on its roots, so it actually helps regenerate and promote good nutrition in soil. So if you've got a sodic site, which is excess of sodium and calcium in the soils, and you often have a lot of fever trees growing around there, they typically will actually help fix that area, and you'll find lots of small shrubs growing up around them, which maybe wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for the fever tree. The other thing about the fever tree is that the settlers believed that this tree used to cause the fever, which is where it gets its name from. But it wasn't a fever that everybody was contracting. They later find out it was malaria that was causing everybody to get sick. And that's these trees love to grow around swampy areas. They'll grow in really good places. So yes, that is the story of the fever tree, and I've got one more thing to show you. And hopefully what I'll do this afternoon is we'll take a drive past the gate, past Ari Gate this afternoon. And something incredible about a fever tree is that often they grow nice and big, and you'll find one branch that goes off to the side that's completely dead. Can you believe that? And a lot of people would want to chop that down. Now you mustn't. You should leave that tree there, that branch there, because it's called a sacrificial branch. And essentially what that does is that it's a sort of a dump site for the tree to get rid of any or too much nutrients that it doesn't need, or any toxic waste that is coming out of the soil. It will actually send it through the veins in the tree and deposit it, and it then sacrifices one branch. So that is the story, of course. That's the second story of the fever tree. But let's go back across to James now and see if anything more has developed from those leopard tracks.
We're waiting here patiently, everybody, for this woodland kingfisher to leap off its perch into the water to see if it can't catch an insect, have a drink, have a bath, or something like that. Also, could be eating tadpoles, I suppose. Brian says that there are thousands and thousands of tadpoles lurking down in the water there, probably from the bullfrogs that Taylor saw the other day. And if you don't follow Taylor on Instagram or Facebook, do yourself a favour and go and sign up, because she took the most astounding picture of 3 bullfrogs. I nearly said woodland kingfishers. 3 bullfrogs caught in flagrante delicto, as it were, in the act, splashing all over the place. It's a wonderful shot. Now, Brian, let us move from the woodland kingfisher to our passenger here. How cool is that? I think that is just wonderful. Wow. I think that's just great. That's very cute. It's a little praying mantis, in case you're wondering what it is. A praying mantis. And it seems to be in some sort of prayer, Brian, wouldn't you say? Praying. As we speak. Strangely caught in prayer. That really is beautiful. And I've done something illegal, Brian.
What have you done?
I've taken a picture of him. Look at his eyes! And the feelers twiddling gently in the wind. I wonder if this is a she or a he. I think it's probably a she. And you can see exactly why they're called praying mantises. Now, one of the most, I think, brilliant authors that South Africa has produced in the last while, in fact it's probably, she's not a youngster anymore, but a woman called Marguerite Poland. She's written a number of fascinating books about South Africa, and one of them was a collection of children's stories called The Mantis in the Moon. And this was all about, I remember I will never forget the front cover of the book, with the silhouette exactly like this mantis. We had it as children, silhouetted against the moon.
Can you see it breathing?
It's breathing, yes. You can see where the spiracles are coming in. Either that or its digestive system, perhaps, Brian. I just find this absolutely astounding. I'm afraid, Brian, I'm going to have to break the law again. Can you believe how naughty I am? Hello, Meg. You say, why isn't the praying mantis green? Well, Meg, you know, mantises come in all sorts of different colours, and I know why you're asking why it's not green, because of course we know that often they are green. And the answer, Meg, is that this one just happens to be this colour because whatever it lives on is probably the same colour. So you'll find that much like a stick insect, this thing probably lives on branches where it remains hidden from its potential prey, and they then don't see it. Mantises are the ultimate camouflaged, or the ultimate sort of, what do I want to say, exponents of camouflage out here. They look like the flowers they live on, especially those Wolftheria flowers. We'll find lots as the summer progresses there. And this one, I suspect, just lives on bark. Then the green ones will live on leaves, and they look exactly like they look exactly like the substrate on which they live. And what I really like about mantises, or what I really wanted to say, I don't know if you've ever watched The Pink Panther, where that his assistant Cato was always sort of disguising himself, and I was thinking of Cato as the mantis, because he always disguised himself depending on where he was standing. That's the most random thought I've ever had in my life. Let's go across to Taylor. She's got something that apparently would like to eat one of those.
Have a look at this tiny little bird we got sitting up in a tree. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Now this is called a golden-breasted bunting. And if you remember the other day we had a bird challenge, well, Brent and I had a bird challenge. And this is one of the birds that I tried to get on screen, but it just wouldn't sit still for long enough. But aren't we lucky today? And it's one of the most beautiful little buntings out here. We normally see this one is more common, and then occasionally we see the cinnamon-breasted bunting, which has just got a sort of more rust red breast on it. And this little birdie is just, well, really enjoying the morning sun. And that's really what most birds will do, is first thing in the day, once they've woken up from their little perch in a sheltered tree somewhere or on the ground, it depends what type of bird you are, they'll normally find a nice elevated spot, whether it's on a termite mound, on a fallen tree, or just up on the tip tops of a branch, and start their morning with a ritual of grooming themselves and, of course, warming themselves up. Look at that. And it's good for these birds to sit in the sun and open their feathers and groom themselves, because sunlight, depends how strong it is though, but can be quite good. Oh, there off it goes. Can be very good with trying to also not just warm up the bird, but also get rid of small little parasites. So maybe there's some little mites. Those mites don't like the sun very much. And then in conjunction with sunbathing, you'll often see them diving down into the water, like we watched the Kingfisher do yesterday. And what I was hoping that Birchall starling was going to do as well was have a bath in the water, fluff its feathers up. And sometimes one of my favorite things to watch, and we see the hornbills doing it quite often, we also see the spurfowls and the franklins doing it quite often, is when they get down and dirty, get right into the sand, and sort of, well, you might want to look at my feet for this one, they sort of shuffle about and do that and kick the sand up and all that type of crazy stuff, and all that dust gets in between all of their feathers. And very much like the elephants, buffalo and warthogs and even rhinos have mud baths to suffocate their parasites. I don't know if a bird would like to dive into a mud bath, but they use the sand and the dust, and it works just fine at getting rid of all those little ectoparasites. Now, one of my favorite things about the different types of bathing that you get is actually ant bathing, and I've only seen two birds ever sort of performing ant bathing. You get two different types. You get an active and you get a passive ant bathing, and what they do is, the active is where the birds physically pick up an ant, put it on their wing, and it will crawl around in between the feathers, stimulating, well, the bird, because it's now aggravated, the ant will be stimulating formic acid all over its body, and that can actually help get rid of the parasites too. And then those ants pick up all the little bits of debris. So all the skin, any old feathers and things like that, they'll take those with them and off they go. Or maybe you've seen this before. Maybe I'm about to explain a behavior that you've been wondering about your whole life. As if you ever come across a bird just very quietly sitting in the ground with its wings open and almost looking like it's possibly dead or in a trance. Now, if you've seen that, it was most likely the passive anting. So basically, they find a colony of ants that are moving around, they sort of disturb them and go and sit right on top of them, open up their wings, and those ants will then, on their own, crawl up all over onto the body and underneath all the feathers. And it's probably like us going to get a massage, because those birds go into a complete trance and you can walk right up to them and they don't move. So keep an eye out for something like that. You actually see, I've seen it more often in the cities in the distance than I have seen out in the wild, but I don't count the things that happen in the cities. It must happen out here. Now, we haven't actually made too much progress. Rexon is down there just keeping a very close eye on us, making sure we don't get too lost, because he's got to be careful about our safety. But we're basically going straight towards Chele Pan, like I said. So we'll get a move on. We'll probably drop a gear now and pick up the pace. Are you ready, David? Are you sure?
Oh, yes.
On your marks, get set, go. Right, we're going to send you off to Evia. We'll see you soon.
Welcome back. So I think I'm going to leave this area of the male lion tracks and move on over to Cheetah Plains. It sounds like there's something exciting there, so I'm going to keep it as a surprise for now, but I'm going to put my foot down a little bit and see if we get lucky. Oh, there's some Nyala. Let's quickly have a look at them. Some female Nyala to the left of us. And go back a little bit. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 that I can see. Some a bit further into the bush. But lovely female Nyala. Nice. So, the surprise this morning, what are we going to have? It is something that James made mention of last night, that he had some information on. That's all I'm going to give you. And then we'll have to wait until we get into that area and find out what is happening. So Aloni and Armani would like to know what the difference is between horns and antlers. So my understanding of antlers is they on deer they shed every year, so it's, I think, bone covered with skin and like a velvet. And then with horns it's bone covered with a hard keratin sheath, so it's hard black material that never sheds, it never falls off, it just keeps growing. And if we find a skull of something lying around, I'll show you. Sometimes you can take it off completely, and kudu horns specifically, with that you can use as what we call a vuvuzela. It's something that makes a huge amount of noise, so you can blow into it almost like a trumpet and get quite a bit of noise. Alright, well, let's keep moving. Ah, that's good to hear. Everyone's guessing what our surprise is going to be. What are the different options? Haha, I'm going to keep that to myself for a bit longer. I'm being bad this morning. Lex, I'm standing by. Copy, thanks Lex. Yeah, I'm also gonna head over to CP, so figure out what's happening that side. Maybe try again later this afternoon. So yeah, that was just the other guys that are also trying to find this lion, and they've also decided to leave the lion in peace for the morning. Same area that we had the last tracks, they also went to double check and can't find anything further. So maybe that lion grew wings, I don't know. Maybe it's a ghost lion. We'll have to try again this afternoon, maybe see if it moved again, or see if anything else has happened in that area, or wait for someone. Maybe they find them in an area that we don't drive in, so we know what had happened. Chris Rogue is wondering if we're gonna see Quarantine and Nkanyeni. Well, Chris, if it's that, it'll be great, because I haven't seen either of those two leopard yet. But you're gonna have to wait to find out. I'm not gonna give this surprise away until until we're there. So I'll keep you hanging for a bit. So while I put my foot down a bit more, let's head over to Taylor. She's got a creepy crawly for you.
We have found ourselves a grasshopper of some sort, and it's an interesting one because the top of its head is beautiful and green, and so are its very powerful legs, and then of course the rest of its body is sort of this very brown and resembles bark. Isn't that amazing, the different colors that it has on its body to help it camouflage? Now sadly we've come across this grasshopper and it's injured. It's not the most agile grasshopper. Its back left leg, this one over here, you can see is unfortunately damaged. Now that could have been from a number of different things. It could be from another grasshopper, it could be from elephants coming through, buffalo coming through, and it just not being able to get out of the way quickly. Maybe, well, it collided with something as it jumped and tried to fly. We will never know the mystery of what caused the injury of this grasshopper. However, it is of course now at a big disadvantage because it can't jump very well, and that's what they rely on, and I think I'm going to demonstrate. David, are you ready? I need some leverage though. However, I can't fly very well. Right, I've got to get into position. And basically, the grasshopper position, they've got the big powerful legs, and then they leap like that. Then they also flap their wings very fast, which often makes a strange clicking type of a noise, and then that's how they sort of travel. So they leap really far distances, hope that they have the wind on their side, flap their wings, and then glide to a position and sit nice and still. Now I don't know how well that grasshopper is going to be able to jump, which is a pity. So the birds and all the other things that like to eat grasshoppers, well, this is going to be an easy catch. Now we've got to try and maneuver through the forest of bush willow trees, David, without getting you stuck on the antenna. Well, we shall try. Let's go this way. Now, ideally when you are walking in the bush, and it's one of my favorite things, is that we want to try and find a nice big animal pathway to walk on, but it doesn't seem to be too many animal pathways here, so we're going to have to do some zigzagging in order for us to jump onto one. Let's go back across to Evia, he's found my favorite animal.
Hello, lady elephant. So, yeah, a little breeding herd. We've got two of this female's youngsters behind us. A very inquisitive little youngster. Let's have a quick look at him. He's trying to show us how big he is. Trying to intimidate us. Look at that. Head up, ears fanned out. I am big. Please don't start a fight. We don't want your mum to get cross at us, little one. And then the other calf, maybe an older sibling behind that bush. This youngster's crossed. Where is it? It's busy crossing over. And it's on its way to join mum. Yes, yes, we know you'll get big one day. These youngsters are always full of stories with vehicles and people trying to intimidate us. And they've got the backing. They've got a very big mum if they're in trouble to come and save the day. But yeah, how beautiful is that? So, we have to slow down again. We're still heading to Cheetah Plains, but can't drive past these elephants and not show them to you and enjoy it and spend a bit of time with them. I'm going to move back a tiny bit so you can get a better view of these guys. Oh, lots of attitude from the youngster. You could see mum reacting to it, just lifted her head quickly. Like, don't be silly. It's all good. That is very nice. He is quite cute, isn't he? It looks like it's a young female. Yeah, young female. So at that age you can't really use their head to tell if it's male or female, so you have to look at the genitalia and try and figure things out from there. Wants to have a drink. Having a bit of milk. Let me squeeze forward a bit so we get this tree out of the way. Come on, baby, have another drink. I think this calf is maybe just over a year to 2, well, somewhere in between a year and 2 years old. Sure. Sarah, you're making me think here this morning. You would like to know the largest elephant herd I've seen. If I remember correctly, it was about maybe 100 or so, 150 elephants together. It was on one of those open plains. So you can imagine, let's take that big open plain on the southern boundary of Cheetah Plains around Nyala, that open area. So open area like this, and these elephants had formed a line that was maybe 1 kilometer long. And they were moving through this open area. It was quite spectacular to see. But yeah, you just kept driving and kept seeing elephants split up and fanned out over this big open area. I think the most elephants I might have seen in a day was on a bushwalk in the northern parts of the Kruger National Park on a backpack trail. And we probably bumped into 10 different breeding herds over the duration of the day. We got back to our campsite, so we had left our campsite for the day, stayed in the same spot for 2 nights, and when we got back after a long day's walk, I was laying down on a termite mound just relaxing, and yeah, we had 2 game paths kind of around our camp, and we had different breeding herds of elephants just keep coming past. So we got to camp. As we walked in camp, we had elephants at the camp. They moved off, we settled in at the camp again, and then maybe another 2 or 3 different herds came walking past us. So that was truly one of the most spectacular elephant days I've had.